Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Living Crafty and Cozy. I hope everyone's doing good. I have got another episode of some large outdoor DIYs coming up for Easter, and including a Grandin Roads egg topiary dupe, which I'm super excited to show you guys. And it was a pain, but we got there, and it actually looks pretty great. So, but this first DIY is going to be some large size carrots that will look adorable sitting on your front porch next to any bunny statues or anything Eastery. So what I did is I went to Dollar Tree and I grabbed 2 of these carrot frames and I just put them back to back. As you can see, I'm zip tying them together. 2 on the side and 1 at the bottom should do. But if you feel like it's insecure at all, go ahead and throw in some more like I did here. You're never going to go wrong throwing in a few extra zip ties. And the color won't matter because you're going to cover all of this over a couple of times. And so if you're stuck with just the black zip ties at your house, don't worry about it. These black ones will do. And you do need to make it really stable because the frames don't always match each other. So you just have to wiggle it around and play with it until it's really, pretty close to even. So I'm just taking a white plastic table cover here from Dollar Tree and cutting it just like fabric or just like wrapping paper. And literally it's going to be like wrapping a carrot-shaped present for Christmas. And I just kept thinking, like, I hope nobody ever gets me carrots for Christmas because we're going to have a conversation if they do. No carrots for Christmas. Anyways, so what you're doing is just like wrapping a present, you're tucking that paper around and taping, tucking, smoothing out and taping, just like a present until everything is completely snug and pulled together. It's not going to look perfect. There's going to be a few bunches and wrinkles and stuff. But like I said, keep smoothing it and folding it under, and you're going to get it as close to perfect as possible. This is just your underneath layer. I did this because the outside layer of what I'm using is pretty thin and transparent. So I definitely wanted something to kind of mask the metal frame there inside. So I just stuck with a double layer. And again, just trimming that down to size. It gets a little scary and hairy down there at the end where it tapers, but that's fine. Just keep trimming it and taping it down until it looks like a carrot shape. And I am following that exact same process with this top layer, which is also a Dollar Tree table cover. They came out with these for the spring, and it is an orange check plastic table cover, and it's just as cute as it can be. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that would be absolutely perfect for what I was looking for. So you're just following the same process again of folding over and taping everything down until you get your shape. Now, it's okay if it looks like a little deflated. We are going to stuff the insides and kind of puff that out a little bit. So that's going to help with some of your wrinkles and crinkles. But don't worry too much about that. You're just, like I said, you can always just keep tugging at it and taping down whatever you need to and smoothing it until some of that goes away. And like, I know for me, I definitely had one side that looked better. So that was my front. And you can see I'm just trimming the edges there. And that was my back side. The front is the one that is like the most smooth and presentation worthy. So here I am just taking a few coffee filters, a few coffee filters, paper doilies. I've used plastic bags, whatever you have handy, and just stuff the inside of your carrot frames. And then I'm just pulling it together at the top to get the shape and just checking everything out once again. And I'm taping that all down together, but I'm careful to leave a slight opening so that I can shove down the stem of my greenery for the green top of our carrot. And again, I just found some long leafy greenery at Dollar Tree. and it worked perfect. They've got multiple different ones. Just look around until you find the one that you feel like looks closest to the top of a carrot. And I had to put a couple of stems in there. I had kind of pulled it apart at first, but in the end, I did feel like a full stem looked best in there. And it just tucked inside with absolutely no problems, and then I just trimmed off the excess at the top. I did debate on whether or not to wrap the top with maybe some twine or something, but at the end I decided it just didn't need it, for me anyways. I thought it was cute enough on its own. And so just to keep that greenery in place, I taped it a little bit and put 3 of those inside of a farmer's basket that I found at a thrift store. And look at that. Isn't that adorable? I love it. They're large size. You can see them from the road. I mean, they're really just so cute, and I was really happy with how they turned out. Moving on, I decided to go ahead and do the Grandin Roads egg topiary dupe that everyone was attempting to do. So I found almost all of my pieces at Dollar Tree. They started to get in the large eggs that are this size was $3, and then they had one that's even bigger, and that was $5. And I decided I just didn't need anything quite that big. My other pieces were like a little bit smaller, so I just didn't quite need all of that. So what I'm doing here, so that any other paint or glue would stick really well, is I am coating everything with a coat of white chalk paint. So white chalk paint will adhere to just about anything, including this really shiny, slippery plastic that you get from Dollar Tree. And so I found like a couple of small bowls and that fluted bowl there that I'm using for my base. I coated everything with the white chalk paint, and here is where we start to play with our patterns and prints and different things. So the Grandin Roads dupes, or actually Grandin Road topiaries, they play around a lot with mixing patterns like bright and floral patterns, and then mixing it with black and white prints as well. So I wanted to throw in a black and white piece right away, and I decided to make that my base. And I'm just painting by hand. I'm not great at it at all, as you can see. My lines need work, but I was like, let's just see what happens. And so there it is. My next piece was my first big egg that I was going to do, and I decided to throw a coat of acrylic paint there. That's just the apple barrel paint from Walmart, and that's in like one of their lightest, softest pinks that they have. And I just covered the whole thing with that paint. And I'm going to talk more in some upcoming videos about these bunny plates that I found at Walmart. They're just in the Easter section. They're paper plates, but they have literally the cutest bunny design on it ever. And it's like literally, it's so pretty. It could just be a picture. So I took the small plate and I just cut around it pretty close to the bunny because I just needed everything to lay as flat as possible. So I didn't have a really big surface to work with there on that egg. So I'm using hot glue, and I'm just gluing everything down and pushing it and just holding it into place, getting it to be as flat and formed to the egg shape as possible. And then I'm just clipping up some moss here. I tried to go with like a greener color moss, and I am just going to make an oval around that picture with the moss. So hot glue, and then just patting it on in a pretty thick oval there, and just working my way around the bunny. I tried to pat it down pretty flat, and then when I was done gluing the moss to the egg, I went behind it and just kind of cleaned up any parts that were sticking out really bad. So just kind of cleaning it up with the scissors here, just to get that oval shape. And so this I found at Hobby Lobby. You guys might find it or something like this or this exactly at some other locations. I think that this was like $3 or $4, but well worth it. I know I'm going to use it for other DIYs, and I just knew that I needed like a gold leaf vine going around the inside of my oval here. So that's kind of like what I envisioned in my head. Through much trial and error, kind of came up with this vision for this egg topiary. And I am just taking different points here and gluing it down. I didn't glue the whole thing. I thought that would be kind of messy and a little bit difficult to get everything pushed down at the same time. So I'm just different points taking in and pushing it down and gluing it down around the bunny. And just snipping off the edge there. And I think that looks really, really stinking adorable. It kind of gave me so many ideas for different projects. And again, just kind of clean it up as much as you want. You can make the moss thinner or thicker. It's really just up to you, but that's kind of how I wanted mine there. And yes, that was me shaking my head in excitement of how cute it looked. I always get to the point where I'm like, this is turning out way cuter than I thought it was going to be, and end up squealing or like, doing a dance or something like that. It's like the crafter's dance, this is so cute. And then I am just taking some printed paper that I found at Hobby Lobby. They're about 69 cents a sheet. And I am Mod Podging them onto my next shape here. And just try and work with it. I probably could have done a better job of this, but it was getting really late and I was just tired and trying to get this part done and knew I had a lot more to do. So I just did the best that I could, but there's definitely a front and a back to this. There's always a front and back to my projects. Like you got to pick the good side and put it forward, And I'm just Mod Podging everything down as much as possible. And for the papered on items, I tried to put a coat on the outside as well because this is sitting outside my front door. So I wanted to make sure that it was, prepared for the elements here. And I'm just trying as best as I can to get all the lumps and bumps out and get my edges pressed down, and it ended up looking pretty good. And I just took another strip of the paper and I'm applying the exact same technique to the top of my structure here. I didn't leave myself enough time, and I ended up kind of messing up my bottom piece there. You can see where some of that paper ripped up, and I have to end up going back and covering it again with another sheet. But it's okay. It all ended up looking pretty good. And just trimming up the edges there, pressing down anything that's sticking out. And it ended up looking pretty good. I really wasn't sure when I bought any of this. This is my first topiary that I've done. I wasn't sure if any of this was going to turn out looking good, but I actually really like it with the printed paper. And I thought, perhaps you would see really obviously that it was, printed paper, or like the egg that I'm doing here. I thought, maybe you would see where the paper ends and the egg begins, but honestly, you really can't see it, especially when you're like, farther back in the yard. You can't see any of that, and it looks so beautiful. even if you're closer up, you really can't see it. It ended up blending so well. And I wasn't sure about this paper at all. I was like, I don't know, I wanted something like with tall, flowery stems, but I just wasn't sure. I really wanted something more like pinks and greens mixed in there to match my other eggs. And I saw this, I was like, it could look good, but I'm not sure. And so at 69 cents, I was like, why not? Let's just give it a try. And this is just so beautiful. It ended up turning out really pretty. And I like that it's actually a little bit different, you know, some different shades and tones than the other colors that I chose. And I did end up deciding to go with thinner strips of flowers. The very first one I put on there was a thick strip, and it was a little harder to control and a little harder to work the bumps out and keep it, you know, really shaped to the egg. So I did end up going with thinner strips and found that a little bit easier. And here I am just gluing my pieces, well, not gluing them, but burning some holes into the pieces so that I can stack them on my stick. Just some metal stick that I had laying around so I could stabilize the topiary. My only regret, I'll say this quickly, my only regret was that I didn't weight down the insides of the pieces. It's just a little light, so I have it kind of like attached to the wall there out front, but it's all good because it just turned out so beautiful. The pink and white striped bowls were just the two bowls from the beginning, the small ones that had the scalloped edges. I glued them together and just did a broad pink stripe. And then the top black and white sphere is just an ornament that I had laying around. And I painted black diamonds on it. It was already white, so, and I had that natural piece on it already. It looked perfect for the top of a topiary. And that's it. Oh, and the gold rings in between the items are gold shower rings that I already had. I found them at a thrift store or something and thought I could use them as a craft later. And wouldn't you know it, they look so great. This looks so beautiful. It's still outside my house and I absolutely love it. Okay. On to my third and final DIY. I am going to be making a bunny door hanger. And I just picked up a piece of foam board from Dollar Tree. And I am tracing out the shape of a bunny. And yes, my tracing, drawing, painting, they're all pretty in need of help, but that's just the way it is, people. It doesn't get any better than this. But the shape isn't really that important. I mean, you're going to be able to want to tell it's a bunny, but it's, you know, you'll be able to see it once you get all the moss and greenery on to the bunny shape. I'm just using a mix of scissors and a utility knife to cut out the bunny shape, and then I keep the sides, and I am going to be cutting out some bunny ears with the extra pieces. And once I get those cut out, I'm just gonna glue those onto my my bunny's head. And this one needed a little bit of help, but it once it got tucked down underneath the back of the head, it looked fine. It's not quite the same shape as the other one, but we were able to hide that pretty good. And I'm just flipping over the bunny and just taping it down just to secure them. Just a little extra security there. And this is an important step, just in case you end up running out of moss or just don't have enough items to cover your board completely. You're going to want your board to be green. So grab, I mean, pretty much any green paint that you could, you know, the empty spots won't be so glaring if you have any. And paint the whole surface green. And this is just moss green by the Waverly chalk paint. And then I'm just using hot glue and applying a thin layer of moss over the entire bunny. I do a thicker border, and I'm a little thicker on the ears, but it's going to be important. You want all of those areas to be filled in a little bit thicker with moss, and in the middle it won't be so important because you're going to be putting your flowers and leaves in there, and you won't need as much moss in the middle. And I'm just, going by the process, gluing and sticking the flowers and leaves in. If you can have something there to help you press them down, that would be preferable, or something to cover your finger with. Yeah, I always burn myself with the hot glue. You don't even need that much. You can put more flowers or less, but this is what I ended up going with. And then I glued some twine to help hang the bunny hanger. And then I put a little bit of twine around the neck. I did a minimalistic bow, okay? But that's all it needed. It was so cute. And this is what it looks like. My only thing I probably would have done differently is I definitely would have made it a little smaller. It's very large, but it still looks very cute. And hey, I hope you guys really like this and are inspired to get out there and do some of your own outdoor DIYs. This was a lot of fun, and I really hope to bring you guys some good content coming up in the future. Thanks for watching. See you later.